Thank you for coming today. My name is Ryan Bates. I'm the Executive Director of End Gun Violence Michigan. We are a statewide coalition of 45 parent, teacher, student, faith, and community organizations, all working together to end gun violence in our state. We're here today to talk about a new law that will go into effect February 13th. This is an important time to be considering this issue in light of yesterday's verdict in the Oxford trial and the fact that we are 1 week away from the 1 year commemoration of the MSU shooting. For years, these tragedies would happen, and our leaders in Lansing would shrug their shoulders and offer only their thoughts and prayers. As a result, firearms are now the leading cause of death for children in our state. As parents, students, teachers, and responsible gun owners, many of us decided that we had had enough. So we got organized. We demanded change. Last year, for the first time in 40 years, the legislature and Governor Whitmer did something historic. They listened to us and passed 4 critical new gun safety laws that will save lives. Universal background checks, extreme risk protection orders, disarming domestic abusers, and what we're here to talk about today, safe storage. This shows that when our communities stand up and fight back, we can win the change we need and deserve. So in this time that is fraught with sad remembrances and reminders, I want us to all keep the victims and survivors of MSU and Oxford in our hearts. I want us to keep those we lose every day in Detroit and cities across our state in our hearts. But somehow, even though they only warrant few moments of news coverage, they should be in our hearts too. They all do deserve our thoughts and prayers, but they also deserve to be honored with action that makes our society better and safer. I'm proud to say that is what our organizations have done, and that is what the legislature and Governor Whitmer have done. That is why we have the great privilege to be here today with you to explain the new safe storage law. It requires the safe and secure storage of firearms in homes or other places where children are or may be present. We want to make sure that every gun owner and prospective gun owner understands this law. And who better than a panel of responsible gun owners who are themselves experts on gun safety? With me today are Christin Perry and Jon Gold of Gifford's Gun Owners for Safety, and Ken Whittaker, the director of Michigan United. I'm going to hand things over to Christin to get us started.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Ryan. As he said, I am with Gifford's Gun Owners for Safety. I've also been a therapist for 20 years and specialize in working with people, particularly children with trauma. More and more, I was hearing trauma stories related to gun violence in the community and the home. And I felt the need to not just help people heal from the trauma that they had already experienced, but also to advocate to change laws in order to prevent future tragedies. As a gun owner, therapist, and mother of 2, I know the importance of secure storage. I myself heavily weighed the pros and cons of owning a gun and thought through many aspects of safety. This led me to purchase a gun safe before I bought my gun. I practiced using that safe and thought through aspects such as where to put backup keys for the safe, all before purchasing a gun. I took this process very seriously. However, just like anything else, not everyone follows the same level of safety planning, but they really should. Sadly, guns are now the #1 cause of death for children in our country. 4.6 million children live in a home with an unsecured firearm. This contributes to the sad but preventable statistics that 76% of school shootings are committed with guns from the home. Also, 82% of adolescent firearm suicides involve a gun belonging to a family member. In Michigan, from 2018 to 2022, 1,577 people ages 25 and younger were killed with a gun in Michigan. And it's very likely many of those deaths are in some way preventable. These lives aren't just statistics. Last year, Michiganders' hearts broke multiple times over several entirely preventable child gun injuries. In October in Lansing, a 2-year-old was left alone in a car with a loaded handgun in the glove box. The child found the gun and was critically injured, though survived. In June in Howell, another 2-year-old found an unsecured handgun in the family garage. The toddler tragically did not survive. As a parent, I can't imagine the grief these families feel. As any parent knows, kids are naturally curious. They'll get into anything. And in many cases, they can't tell the difference between a real firearm and a toy. We do a lot to make our homes safe for our children. We pad sharp corners, cover electrical sockets, put locks on cabinets with cleaning chemicals, and a whole lot more. We have to do the same thing with the most dangerous thing in our homes, our firearms. You certainly should talk to your kids about gun safety. It doesn't hurt, but let's be honest, it should not be on the children to keep themselves safe from guns in the home. That's on us as parents and gun owners. So that's why the secure storage law is so important. The secure storage law requires anyone owning a gun to follow responsible storage practices. This law is necessary to save lives. We can protect kids and prevent accidents. We can reduce firearm suicides, and we can protect our communities from gun violence. As a responsible gun owner, I'm proud that the legislature listened to us and passed this law. It shows that when our community gets organized, we can make change and save lives, particularly those of our children. And with that, I'm going to hand things over to my good friend, Jon.
Good afternoon. Thanks, Kristen. I appreciate it. I am a member of Gifford's Gun Owners for Safety and an advocate. I am an engagement consultant with Gifford's. But more importantly on this call, I am a 25-year firearms instructor inside the state of Michigan. I have taught marksmanship and pistol craft for, again, over 25 years now. The first thing I want to say is that the vast majority of gun owners are following this law. It's just practical. Kids and unsecured firearms don't mix. All this law says is that everybody has to be practical, safe, and responsible. Research shows that there are far too many guns in homes with children that are not safely stored. So we have a lot of work to do. I have personally had conversations with people who told me that they thought leaving their loaded weapon on their bedstand or in a bedroom drawer loaded was perfectly secure. That's a recipe for disaster. We know from safety research that kids generally know where the guns are, even if adults think they've done a good job hiding them. A hidden weapon is not a secured weapon. It's not secure hidden in a closet. It's not secure in your unlocked glove compartment. If anyone can get a hold of that weapon besides you, it's not secure. So here's how this works. Starting February 13th, every gun owner in Michigan has a new requirement by law. If there are children on your premises, that's the home. Your firearms have to be safely stored. That can either mean secured using a storage device or on your person and under your control. Everyone who buys a gun in Michigan will be made aware of this law at the time of purchase or sale. It's pretty simple, right? There are a few things to remember. This law applies to even if children are visiting your home. So everyone, please, when any kids come to visit, lock up your guns. No one's telling you not to have one on your person, but please secure your weapons. It's just common sense. The law also applies whether you reasonably should have known that children would be in your home. So if you're one of those houses where the kids come over, after school, you have to make sure those guns are secured. The law also applies if you're carrying your weapon and you go someplace where there are children. Make sure your weapon is on your person and under your control at all times. You can either keep your firearm on you and under control, or you can leave it securely stored in your car with a secure storage device and lock your car. It's very straightforward. But there are things that we really need to know now that this law is going into effect. There are serious consequences and legal penalties associated with this law. If a child gains access to a firearm that was not securely stored, but no one is hurt, well, that's a misdemeanor for the gun owner. In this case, the child must either bring the gun to a public place and or possess or exhibits the firearm in presence of another person in a careless, reckless, or threatening manner. The penalty is up to a $500 fine and 93 days in jail. If a child gains access to a firearm that was not securely stored and hurts somebody, including themselves, that's a felony for the gun owner. The penalties go up depending on how badly the victim is hurt. And the fines can go up to $10,000, and the prison time can reach up to 15 years if someone is killed. Now, I want to emphasize that this law is only enforced after there is a report of a child gaining access to a firearm. No one's coming into your house to check your guns. That's not what this is about. This is about safety and responsibility, and as gun owners, the responsibility starts with us. And now I'm going to hand this over to my friend Ken Whittaker.
Hey, thanks, Jon. My name's Ken Whittaker. I'm the executive director of Michigan United. My house is the center of my family's universe. I'm a proud father and a grandfather of 2 wonderful grandchildren. This means that not just my heart, but my house is often full. There's nothing I love more than seeing my grandbabies run around and watching my own children grow and develop as parents. But that also means that there's always curious little hands getting into everything. And you can bet that means I keep my firearms locked up. If something were to happen to my grandbabies because of my guns, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. Safe storage is something that responsible gun owners are already doing. It's just the law now. There are many ways to follow this law. Now, we're not going to endorse a specific product, so I'm going to speak generally. Generally, the best practice is to store your gun unloaded. This prevents accidental discharge. But the simplest way to secure a firearm was with a cable lock. I got an example here. They thread through the breech of a gun and prevent the gun from actually loading around. Cable locks are available for as little as $6 online. But even better, you can get them for free from any police department or Veterans Administration. But for every firearm I purchased, the dealer gave me one of these for free. We're working to make these locks easily available through other community locations as well. This is a cheap and easy solution. You can stash them in your car, you can stash them around the house for easy use. However, they don't prevent theft and can be overcome with a pair of bolt cutters. The trigger lock's available too, but honestly, a trigger lock is a last gasp of safety. I've seen them removed with a hammer and way too often used incorrectly. So if you don't have a safe, whatever immobilizes the gun must go through the barrel and make sure that the slide cannot go back and forth, or that if it's a revolver, that the cylinder can't be closed. The most secure way to secure your firearm is with some kind of a safe. Safes also do a better job of preventing theft. A simple handgun safe can be purchased for less than $30 online or in person. A simple rifle safe can be purchased for as little as $150. There are many different kinds, but the important thing is that a safe or lock effectively restricts access to just the gun's owner. In the case of safes or locks that use keys, the gun owner should always keep the keys on them. I treat my keys like the gun itself. If you leave a gun or the safe keys at the front door with the car keys, you better believe that your kids are going to find them. In my case, my grandkids. If it's a combination lock, don't leave the combination anywhere visible. Memorize it. Store it as store a backup of your combination in a password protected file on your computer or on your phone. The most secure option is a safe with a biometric lock. For example, a fingerprint matched to the gun owner. You can always put your finger on that, put your thumb on it, and open up your safe and have access to your weapon within seconds. We also recommend that gun owners practice using these devices over and over again. Like Christin said, with practice, your weapon can be usable in just a few seconds. Some of these options are more deluxe, but gun owners can get a cable trigger lock for free in their community. I also want to emphasize that safe storage in cars is very important. Half of the guns used in crimes are stolen, and half of the stolen guns are stolen from cars. So I'm encouraged that safe storage is the law now. We've been watching gun violence escalate in our communities for years. Now, finally, the legislature has listened to us, the community, and passed this important law that will undoubtedly save lives, particularly the lives of children like my grandbabies. It shows that when we're organized, when we speak out, when we demand a better future for our communities, we can and do win the change that we deserve. I want to thank y'all, and we'll take any questions that you have.
Thanks so much, Ken. If there are questions, folks can raise their hands and unmute yourself. I see Kim Craig. Go ahead.
Hi, folks. Thanks again for doing this. And what do you say to gun owners who part of the reason that they have their firearms for home protection, and that means easy access and quick access. And I know we talked about the gun storage locks. What would you say to them about the importance of getting a storage box in over anything else in terms of if they're interested in easy access, is that the best way? Because people are concerned. A lot of reasons why these cable locks aren't used is because they kind of take that easy access away from folks.
John, do you want to take that? Or Kim?
I can hop in. Thanks for the question, Ms. Craig. A gun safe is one of the best ways of preventing theft, and it also allows you to access your firearm quickly. Your firearm can be loaded inside of the gun safe. If you've got your keys, you've got your fingerprint, you carry it around with you everywhere you go, you can access your gun quickly. Personally, I keep my gun safe right next to my bed so that I can access my safe quickly and get access to my weapon.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Christin said it earlier, it's an issue of training. It's only a matter of seconds to unsecure that weapon from a biometric safe. I will admit that with the cable locks and the keys, if you're in a time of great stress and need manual dexterity, sometimes that's problematic. That is true. But the biometric safe with the thumbprint or your index finger, you can have your gun in your hands in, like I said, 2 or 3 seconds.
Thank you, folks.
Thanks, Kim. Other questions from the press? I see Steve Carmody from Michigan Public Radio. Go ahead.
Hi. What do you say to those gun owners and gun organizations that look at this law and the other ones that will be taking effect next week, that's an infringement upon their rights as gun owners, and that they won't be effective anyway because the bad guys will break these laws anyway? What do you say to those gun owners who object to this and the other gun laws?
I can hop in there. Thank you for the question, Stephen. I think that this is as simple as using a seatbelt on a car. You have the right to have a gun, but you also need to keep it safe. You have a right to drive a car, but you also need to keep your seatbelt on. I think that argument is honestly just a false argument and irrelevant.
Yeah, I'm going to add to that. Like I said, I've been teaching pistol craft in the state for over 25 years. I've carried a gun for a living, and not one of these laws interferes with my Second Amendment right. Not one of them. So that's what I would say to the critics of this legislation, is that all we've done is increase safety measures to try to cut down on gun violence in this state. And nowhere in any of these laws, in any of the wording, has anything infringed on my Second Amendment right.
And I'll address the last part of your question, which is, does this work? The evidence is clear. These laws save lives. When Florida implemented a strong safe storage law, youth firearm deaths went down more than 50%. The other laws we've passed all have been used in other states and all have a strong base of evidence. For example, the Extreme Risk Protection Order law substantially reduces suicide. And in fact, there was a recent study that showed um, safe storage laws were associated with a 78% decreased risk of fatal self-inflicted gun injuries by children. So it's effective. It will save children's lives, and it doesn't interfere with anybody's Second Amendment rights. I see Kim.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just one more question. There are children who have been trained in firearms and who have access or have had no longer coming up on February 13th, have had access to guns for home protection. Those children will no longer, if they are home alone, whether it be 15, 16 years old, they can't use those firearms as a way to protect themselves in their homes. Is there, there may be parents that may be concerned about their children's ability to not protect themselves in the house. How can you respond to that?
Okay, I'll hop in. Thanks again for the question, Ms. Craig. Well, you're not allowed to purchase a firearm until you're the age of 18, and any use of it under that age should be supervised by a parent. And if your parent is not home, then your child should not be accessing a firearm to protect the home. Now, a child's mind is not fully developed as an adult until about the age of 26. That's the reason why the Hyde Amendment even exists. So if that's the case, there's no way I want any of my children or my grandchildren accessing a firearm in my home outside of my presence. So they would have to get it from me in a situation of protection in order to even use it. I don't want any children to be able to access it. And I don't think any responsible gun owner would actually want a child to access a firearm outside of their supervision.
I will add to that as a parent and also as a therapist. I am very well aware of kind of the developmental things that children go through and know that teaching safety with guns is a gradual process, just like anything else. So even if you are a parent and you're teaching your child gun safety, maybe you go hunting together, that doesn't mean that they are ready to handle the responsibility of home protection with a gun as teenagers. That is something that, we believe they need to have a lot more development, like Ken said, and brain development, impulsivity, being able to make decisions, as well as learning the responsible behaviors with a gun. That takes time. So in my opinion, these laws do not create any problems in terms of that, because I will leave, my teenage son home alone, but I'm not going to leave him home with the responsibility of here's a gun and protect the home. If it's that rate of danger, I'm probably not leaving them alone. So.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Kim. Any other questions from the press? Going once, going twice. Great. Well, I'd like to thank our presenters, Ken Whittaker from Michigan United, Christin Perry and Jon Gold from Gifford's Gun Owners for Safety, and to all of our friends from the press for getting the message out today. Just a reminder, these laws go into effect February 13th, and anyone who needs gun safety equipment can obtain it for free from the Veterans Administration or local law enforcement. You can find more information about these laws and other gun safety practices at endgunviolencemichigan.org. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you, folks.